I'm CK. Tonight we've got another one from Patching Panda. I haven't done anything from them in a while. It's their kick drum module, the Blast. It's got some interesting parameter control and good design, more than you get in some other kick drums. So we'll see how it is to put together and see how much fun it is to play it. And I hope you enjoy the video. Here's the bag, Patching Panda out of Barcelona. I've always been pretty happy with Patching Panda stuff. I got this from thonk.co.uk, as is often the case. We'll open up the circuit board and front panel first. Maybe there's some instructions here. Maybe I'll have to get them online. I don't know. Well, a lot of surface mount already installed. So there's not going to be a ton to do here, and it also looks like it's got a sideboard, whether it's a Raspberry Pi or something along those lines. We'll see. Again, not a lot to solder. There's a couple of pin headers. There's a sprue here that we're going to break off. Looks like we've got a voltage regulator there. Power connector there. On the back side, it's got some fuzzy explosions being eaten by a little Pac-Man character. Blast 1.3 2024. It's March of 2025 right now as I'm recording this. Not a lot to do on this board at all except put the pin headers on. So it looks like this is going to be a pretty rapid kit. Then on the back here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sliders, a trigger button, looks like, then jack, 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 some outs, looks like you can get the kick envelope to come out of it too. We'll put that on the scope and see how it looks. Here's the front panel. We've got the trigger input from an LFO or whatever, A envelope. These are all outs. The white background is out. A envelope positive, A envelope negative, and the regular out. Accent, TZ frequency modulation. I'm not sure what the TZ stands for. Amplitude modulation, shape. There's that button so you can manually trigger it. Attack decay, P decay. I'm not sure what they mean by P. I'm in volts per octave so you can tune the kick. Body slider, A decay, P decay, amount, and P decay and amount are tied, looks like. And we've got tune and the shape of the kick from a somewhat square wave to a sine wave. Then comp, which might be some compression. Then TZ frequency modulation. Again, I don't know what TZ means. We should be able to figure it out. This piece of paper may actually say something, or it might not. It says go to their website to get the module. Thank you for adopting a Panda in your rack. Let's look at the bits and pieces. Here is going to be the little daughter board thing. Where's my scissors? Oh, it's already got the pins soldered onto it. Gosh, they didn't leave much for me to do at all on here. This does not seem like one of the standard boards. This looks like their own board. They made the VCO _ TZFM. I can't read the part number on the main chip in there, which has got the intelligence behind everything. Put that back away. Then we'll look at our little bits and pieces that we are going to be soldering. Got pin headers already pre-cut, which is nice. Some sliders. These are better than average sliders. Got little plastic handles. It's got white insert there. I don't know if those light up. It would be nice if they lit up, but we'll see. Some jacks, a trimmer. Let's see what the trimmer may be labeled as. I didn't notice a spot for a trimmer. Oh, we're going to have 3 trimmers. Interesting. Huh. I wonder what we're going to be trimming. We'll figure it out. It's one of these lighted push buttons, 6-pin. Some brass spacers, bunch of jacks, power connector, but not a ton to do, as we could already see. So that's about it. Let's see what they're... Got a good power cord. Well, I'll get the soldering iron heated up, pull up the build guide, and we'll start putting this thing together. Pulled up the build guide. The build guide is on the Thonk website. It is not on the Patching Panda website. The Patching Panda website has the user manual, but it does not have the build guide, which I find kind of interesting. And what they'd like us to do first is put the spacers on, and there are 2 11mm spacers and 1 10mm spacer. And we'll put them on. The 10mm goes here in the lower hole of this control circuit board, because it's going to go into that drilled hole there on the front panel. I'm going to keep the other screw in there momentarily, because if I take it out, I will lose it, because I know how I am. So we'll just keep it in there. And yeah, where is it? Yeah, the IC that goes in here, I forgot to point it out. It's a 78 LO5, so it's a 5-volt voltage regulator to take some of the 12-volt coming in and convert it to 5-volt for various usages. There's one other thing. You could do most of this without the build guide, but there are 2 areas. Putting the daughter board on, you'll want the build guide to figure out where that goes. And also there's one little part where we're going to be cutting some of the legs off one of the sliders to prevent some grounding. So that goes in there. Where's the other one? I guess it goes here. Yeah, it goes there. And of course I'm going to lose the screw, like I said. That's why I leave them in place. Come on, go in there. Golly. There we go. And for the other things, all the trimmers and the sliders themselves are all the same values, so you can, if you didn't have the build guide, you could still figure it out. Now we'll put the voltage regulator on. Voltage regulator, power connector, and trimmers are in this next step. And you just make sure the flat spot on the voltage regulator is matched up with the flat spot on the printing on the board. Pretty standard there. And I'm going to do this one first, because then we're going to flip the board over and do all our soldering on the other stuff on the other side. Now we're going to put the power connector on, and as you can see, the silk screening shows a little cutout there, and there's a little cutout on this shrouded power connector. Now just to be sure, because sometimes things can get a little wrong, so the key on the connector goes into that slot, and that puts the red stripe by the -12 indication on the back of the board, printed on the board, so it is correct. And I don't have it quite flat because I don't care right yet. I'm going to solder one pin like so, let that cool, pick it up. It's pretty much flat, but I'm going to do what I generally do anyway. I'm going to push on it with my finger, reheat that pin, let it cool, make sure it's all down right correctly, and it is. So I will solder the rest of these legs. Now, of course, whenever you're working with a board that has surface mount components already installed, you have to make sure you don't brush your soldering iron up against, say, this capacitor, or when we get up here to the trimmers, against that transistor or these other caps up here. So you're going to want to have good soldering iron discipline while you're doing this. I'm going to put each trimmer on its own so I can make sure they're all flat also. And that's not really perpendicular. So again, I'll just heat it up again and push on it with my finger. There it goes. Let that cool. Get the next one. As you can see, the screws are on the top, even though the printing on the board shows them coming out the side, but it doesn't matter. We're not going to be interfered with, as you'll see in a little bit when I put the daughter board on. Just double checking to make sure I've got good solder connection here. I don't want to touch this. I want to touch this one up a little bit. There we go. Much better. Now there's a cap symbol here, and I don't see a cap for that. And that does not... I see that cap symbol, but that may be what... I don't know what that's supposed to be, because there is no capacitor to go in there, and there is no indication in the build guide that you would put one in there. So I guess we won't. Now we're going to do our pin headers. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to leave this off for a minute, take the other pin headers and put them like so. And where's the other one? Like so. And take the other circuit board. Now I am going to take the screws out. Set them aside in my little parts bin, because I don't want them to interfere right now. This is only... We've got more to do behind this board, but I'm going to get these two pin headers set up first. Like so and like so. And I'm actually going to run one of these screws in just to keep it together while I'm soldering these pin headers. It's just a handy, not very tight, just loose enough so it doesn't flop around while I'm soldering these guys. And I'm soldering the pin headers now with them together. I'm going to get my little clamp and actually clamp it a little bit too, so that we know when we take it apart to do some more work, when we put the pin headers that are going to hold the daughter board on, we know they will go back together correctly. And that's those pin headers. I will take this screw back out. And pull it apart again, knowing that since I soldered them with them together, they will go together just fine when it comes time for that. Now we're going to build on the pin headers for the daughter board, and they are going to go on the back like so. The module is going to mount on the back, and they're a little lower than the trimmers. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do this all at once. Now here's the only area where you really want to be careful, is where the little notch, you can see there's a little notch in there, I think, and you can see on the other side of the board where the notch goes. So that's the orientation. I will say the picture in the build guide is a little confusing because it's got an arrow that could mislead you, but the picture also shows you I hope you can see this, maybe so. You can see there's trace there, and trace there, and that's that trace, and that trace. So that tells me more than anything else the way I want to do this. Now I'm mounting it like this again, so I know everything will fit later on. Get a little piece of foam to support the other end. It's too much foam. Where's a thinner piece? I'll get something here. I'll get a little piece of something. That's a thinner piece of foam. That'll work. And I'll do basically what I did with the trimmers. I'm going to solder that one pin, pick the whole mess up, and press down on everything. Reheat that. Okay, that's fine. Now I'll solder all these pins to both sides, so both pin header strips are affixed. Now if I were really paranoid about electrostatic discharge, which he mentions a good bit in the build guide, I'd pull this off before I did anything more. But since we're actually not working on this board anymore, we're going to be working on the pots and knobs board. So I'll just set this aside and I'm not going to worry about it. Check my time on my cameras. Got 9 minutes of recording time left, which might be enough to do this. Actually, it won't be. Just checking to see. So what we want to do next is we've got one place here where the fader legs can touch this pin header right here. So I'm going to go get my carbon tipped diagonal side cutting pliers. And I will trim this leg so it will not rest on those. And I'm going to double check that because I'm not sure these other ones aren't going to touch either. I got to trim that a little bit closer. Now this one also is touching. And I've got clearance. Okay, got clearance through there. I'm going to solder this one just so I don't inadvertently grab the wrong one. I'm going to see what he would like us to do next, or he wants to do. Oh, one other tricky area, or not tricky, but you have to pay attention to it. This 6-pin switch can go that way or that way, but you'll notice on the board right here, there's a flat spot, and there's a flat spot on the switch. Make sure that you get those positioned together. If you don't, it won't work. And you'll be saying, what the heck is going on? Everything looks good. But you didn't notice that you got the flat spots missed. I am saying that from experience because I've done that long in the past. And it's annoying. In fact, when I did it on the project I was working on there, it actually sent power backwards through an IC, and I destroyed the IC and had to get another one, which irritated me. Now be real careful here, because there are resistors and capacitors already on the board, and you don't want to touch them with your soldering iron, because you can shift them accidentally and you won't even notice it, and then things won't work and you'll say, what is going wrong? And you won't know. So that's pretty much all the interesting bits here. Now I'm just going to go ahead and put all the jacks on. Man, these holes are very snug. That's nice. Jacks usually are hopping all out on me. Oh, I'm going to take a look over here at this slider to see if it's got that same interference problem. And it does. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set everything else in place and then solder them all. And I will do that with no commentary and in fast playback and probably cut some of it out. Okay, I've got all the parts in. The only problem is this switch rubs up against this fader. That's kind of unfortunate. And I already soldered it down, so I can't trim it. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put that one back in place. Put this front panel on. Yeah, that's still, I mean, that's rubbing up against that. See the way that's moving up and down? That's unfortunate. But instead of using my clamp as I usually do, I'm going to put this screw in here, if I can get it in there. Come on, little buddy. No, not in there. This screwdriver is a little magnetized, which I usually hate, but in this case, it'll work out for me. So that puts everything down solidly. I gotta push that down. I gotta do this one first because it keeps being bumped by the switch. So I'm gonna put a little piece of foam to make sure it pushes up against the front panel. Against the circuit board. So that should hold that in place. And I'm going to do that for all of these guys. This one is a little wonky too. I got to reach in there and push on that. There we go. That one's down. Now I'll do the top pins on each of these. Looks like one of these is up a little bit too. This one is rocking around. I'm going to have to hold that with my finger. This one also needs a little support. Now they've all got support and all the jacks look fine, so I'm going to go ahead and solder all this mess again. I'll probably speed it up and cut some of it out. And that is all the soldering. So I'm going to take a quick look here and make sure I got all the connections made. And everything's made, so I can spin some of these panel. Actually, and this is, it still is interfering there. Fortunately, I don't care much about the trigger, the manual trigger. I can, because I'm, as you can imagine, going to be triggering it from a sequencer generally. Everything's sliding well. Now we'll put the assembly for the backside, the main stuff assembly back on. Get our little spacer screws. And that is that. About a half-hour build or so. There's the front, the side, the back, the other side. No spacer there, but that doesn't really matter. The top and the bottom. Now I'll take a little break and get set up to calibrate this fella. So this is where the calibration step should be, but I tried calibrating it 3 times and I didn't get any meaningful results out of it. So I'm not including that because obviously I could not do it correctly or the module was not reacting as I expect. So we'll just go ahead to the actual testing and I'll do something there. You'll see me do that and then we'll finish. Okay, so we're set up, and as you can hear it, it's thumping. Now I'm going to do the C1 adjustment a little bit more. I'm going to take tune all the way down And then I'm going to back this off a little bit more to get it a little lower. I kind of like it there for its lowest. Now we'll start playing with some stuff. It's the attack decay. Going to change the shape. That's a little rounder. Here's the tune. That sounds pretty neat. Compression off. Compression on. That sounds pretty neat. Now TZ is through zero frequency modulation to add some harmonics, so I'll do that. Change the shape again. I'm going to take the tune all the way up. Take the P decay all the way down, take compression out, take the TZ FM out. You can hear the difference. It's a little rounder down here when it's fully signed, and then a little bit of squareness. I'm going to take another LFO. Where is this going to? Don't care about that. I'm going to put this in attack decay. Oh, that's a pulse. I want to sign. I'm going to take the, I'm going to go into frequency modulation. Not all that great about that. I'm going to go into amplitude modulation. Make it flutter. So we got to put this in decay and P decay. I'm going to pull it out of A decay for a little bit. Now I'm going to take that one and put it into accent. What else am I going to do? TZ, FM, I did that already. Try shape. so it does interesting things there. Look at that, it is kicking out to 100 milliamps, which is more than I thought it would use. I'm going to do something here. I'm going to reverse the envelope filter, the envelope output, and put it into TZFM. That's interesting. Put it in P decay. It's actually not generating as much as I would have thought. So that's going into volts per octave. That's going into the decay. That's the waveform coming out. Take that back out. What else did I just see that I wanted to do? Oh, volts per octave. Let me put that in my sequencer. So that's a bunch of random note values. So that's what it does. Sounds pretty neat. I could probably slot this into the studio pretty well. And that is the blast from Patching Panda, another good module from them. And I hope you enjoyed the video.